Captain Jisoo Park stood at the large window of the observation deck. Her hands held an old piece of paper carefully. It was her grandmother's recipe for mince pies, written in neat handwriting that was starting to fade. The paper was yellow with age, but Jisoo treated it like it was made of gold. Behind her, the massive spaceship called Harmony hummed quietly. 10,000 families were getting ready for their last Christmas on Earth. Tomorrow, they would leave their home planet forever. Jisoo watched the snow falling outside. The observation deck was on the highest level of the launch facility, giving her a perfect view of the white landscape below. String lights twinkled in the distance, where families were celebrating in their temporary homes. Captain Park. A soft voice called from behind her. The kitchen staff wants to know if you'd like to share your grandmother's recipe. They're planning the final holiday meal. Jisoo turned to see Do-hyun Kim, the ship's head cook. He was a kind man with gentle eyes and a warm smile. His white uniform was dusted with flour, showing he had been busy baking. Of course, Jisoo said, smoothing the old paper, but we should scan it first. This recipe is very special to me. Do-hyun nodded and pulled out his tablet. Many families brought their recipes with them. We're collecting them all in a digital cookbook. It will help us remember Earth's tastes when we're far away. Jisoo placed the recipe on a nearby table. As Do-hyun scanned it, she remembered watching her grandmother make these pies every winter. The kitchen would get warm from the oven. The smell of spices would fill their whole house. Her grandmother would tell stories while she baked, her hands working with the pastry like magic. The dried fruits and spices are all packed, Do-hyun said. We have enough to make traditional desserts for at least 5 years. After that, we'll need to use the synthetic ingredients. Jisoo smiled. 5 more years of real mince pies. That's more than I hoped for. A small alarm beeped on her wrist device. It was time for the evening briefing. Before she left, Jisoo looked out the window one more time. The snow was falling harder now, covering everything in white. In the halls of the launch facility, families were gathering. Children ran around wearing Santa hats. The air smelled like cinnamon and pine. Someone was playing Silent Night on a guitar, and a few people were singing along quietly. Jisoo touched the old recipe in her pocket. Tomorrow, they would leave Earth to find a new home among the stars. They were taking their memories with them, in photographs, in recipes, and in their hearts. As she walked to the briefing room, Jisoo saw families exchanging small gifts. They had been told to pack light, but everyone had saved room for something special. She saw a mother giving her daughter a snow globe. An old man was showing his grandchildren a book of Earth photographs. A young couple hung a tiny Christmas ornament on a small plastic tree. The observation deck slowly emptied as people went back to their rooms. Soon the snow would stop falling, and morning would come. Their great journey would begin. But for now, on this last quiet evening, the people of Earth celebrated one final Christmas at home. They held their loved ones close, shared their favorite foods, and dreamed about the adventures waiting for them in the stars. Jisoo knew that leaving Earth would be hard. But as she watched her people celebrate, she felt sure about one thing. Wherever they went in space, they would carry these warm memories with them. And somehow, they would find ways to keep making new ones. 5 years had passed since the Harmony left Earth. The huge spaceship moved steadily through the stars, carrying its precious cargo of human families. In the ship's main kitchen, Do-hyun Kim was hard at work. The winter celebration was coming again, and he wanted to make it special. The kitchen looked different now. The real spices from Earth were almost gone. Do-hyun had been working for months with the science team to make synthetic ingredients that would taste like the original ones. Today, he was trying to make mince pies using these new ingredients. The cinnamon substitute needs more work, he said to himself, making notes on his tablet. He adjusted some settings on the food synthesizer, a machine that could create basic ingredients from raw materials. The air filled with a warm, sweet smell as he tried again. On the bridge of the Harmony, Captain Jisoo Park was checking the ship's course when something unusual appeared on the sensors. A large object was moving toward them from the direction of a nearby star system. Unknown vessel approaching, the ship's computer announced. Size suggests an advanced civilization. Jisoo stayed calm. They had prepared for this moment. Send out the standard greeting message, she ordered. But before the message could be sent, something unexpected happened. The alien ship changed course slightly. It was now moving directly toward them, but not in a threatening way. It seemed curious. Back in the kitchen, Do-hyun had finally gotten the spice mix right. The smell of his latest batch of pies filled the air. The ventilation system carried the scent throughout the ship, reminding everyone of winter celebrations back on Earth. That's when the first message came from the alien ship. It wasn't words or pictures. Instead, it was a pattern of chemical signals. The science team was puzzled at first, but they soon realized something amazing. The aliens had noticed the smell of Do-hyun's baking. The aliens called themselves the Lumini. They were a species that communicated mainly through scents and chemical patterns. The smell of Do-hyun's pies had caught their attention because it was complex and different from anything they had encountered before. Hae-hyun Lee, the ship's senior diplomat, was called to the bridge. She had studied different ways that aliens might communicate. "This is remarkable," she said, looking at the chemical patterns the Lumini were sending. "They're trying to understand our food. They think it's a form of communication." Captain Park made a bold decision. She asked Do-hyun to keep baking, but to change the spices slightly with each batch. The Lumini responded with their own chemical patterns, creating a simple back-and-forth exchange. "It's like a conversation through cooking," Do-hyun said, amazed as he adjusted his recipes. The Lumini ship moved closer, matching speed with the harmony. Their responses became more complex, showing growing interest. Hae-hyun worked with the science team to understand the Lumini's messages. "They're inviting us to share more," she explained. "They've never encountered a species that creates such interesting chemical patterns for pleasure." The crew watched in wonder as the massive Lumini ship drew alongside them. Its surface shimmered with changing colors, responding to each new scent from the Harmony's kitchen. Captain Park smiled as she watched. Who would have thought that her grandmother's mince pie recipe would help humanity make its first alien friends? The simple act of baking, a tradition they had carried from Earth, was building a bridge between species. "Sometimes," she said to Hae-hyun, "the best way to make friends is to share what makes us happy." She touched the old recipe in her pocket, thinking how proud her grandmother would be to know her pies were making history in space. Hae-hyun Lee stood in the Harmony's main meeting room, watching as the Lumini representatives came aboard. They looked like tall, gentle beings made of shifting colors. Their bodies gave off soft light that changed with their emotions. Right now, they glowed with warm purple and gold colors that meant curiosity and friendship. The room had been prepared carefully. Do-hyun had set up a display of Earth foods, including fresh mince pies, cookies, and warm drinks. The sweet smells filled the air, making everyone feel at ease. Captain Park stood nearby, ready to welcome their visitors. The first Lumini moved forward. Its name translated roughly to morning light. It released a pattern of scents that the translation computer turned into words. "Your chemical songs are beautiful. We wish to understand their meaning." Hae-hyun smiled and gestured to the food display. "These are not songs," she explained carefully. "They are foods. We eat them for nourishment, but also for comfort and happiness. Each one carries memories of our home." The Lumini gathered around the display, their bodies shimmering with interest. They didn't eat like humans did, but they could absorb the chemical patterns of the food through their skin. As they moved closer to the mince pies, their colors changed to deep blue, a sign of deep emotional response. "These patterns, morning light communicated, they carry stories. We can sense joy, warmth, gathering. How do you create such meaning in these chemical structures?" Do-hyun stepped forward. Using simple gestures and help from the translator, he explained about cooking and recipes. He showed them how each spice and ingredient added its own note to the whole story. The Lumini watched in fascination as he demonstrated mixing spices for a new batch of pies. In our culture, Heyun added, certain foods bring back memories of special times. When we smell these winter treats, we remember celebrations with our families back on Earth. The smell of these pies reminds us of home. The Lumini's colors shifted to a soft gold as they understood. They too had ways of preserving memories through chemical patterns, but they had never encountered a species that did it through food. One of the younger Lumini, called Gentle Breeze, moved closer to the warm drinks. Its body rippled with excitement as it absorbed the scent of hot chocolate. The translation computer spoke. This pattern, it makes me feel what you call cozy. We have no word for this feeling in our language. Captain Park watched as Hao Yun and Du Hyun continued sharing Earth's food traditions with the Lumini. The aliens were especially interested in how humans gathered together to share meals. They had their own traditions of sharing chemical patterns in groups, but food as a way of bringing people together was new to them. Would you teach us more? Morning Light asked. We want to understand how you use these patterns to keep your memories alive. Heyun looked at Captain Park, who nodded her approval. We would be honored, Heyun replied. And we would like to learn about your traditions too. As the meeting continued, both humans and Lumini realized something important was happening. They had found a way to share not just information, but feelings and memories. The simple act of sharing food had opened a door between their cultures. The Lumini's colors shifted to a beautiful rainbow pattern, their way of showing hope and excitement for the future. In the warm, sweet-smelling room, two very different species were learning that comfort and friendship could cross any distance, even the vast spaces between stars. Taiwan Choi sat in his engineering lab aboard the Harmony, studying the crystal the Lumini had given them. It sparkled under the bright lights, changing colors as he turned it in his hands. The Lumini called it a memory crystal, and they said it could store and share experiences perfectly. Morning Light stood nearby, its body glowing with soft blue light. Our people have used these crystals for thousands of years, the Lumini explained through the translator. They captured not just images and sounds, but feelings and scents too. Taiwan connected the crystal to his computer. His screens filled with data as the crystal began to share its stored information. What he saw amazed him. The crystal didn't just record memories, it preserved them exactly as they had been experienced. This could help us save our Earth memories, Taiwan said softly. He thought about all the traditions they had brought from home. Some were already starting to fade after just 5 years in space. Captain Park entered the lab with Heyun and Du Hyun. They had come to see what the young engineer had learned about the crystal. Can you show us how it works? Captain Park asked. Morning Light moved closer to the crystal. Its body touched the surface gently, and suddenly the air in the lab changed. Everyone could smell fresh snow and pine trees. They felt the cool winter air on their skin. It was like being back on Earth during the winter celebration. This is one of our memories, Morning Light explained. We captured it when we first sensed your food patterns. We wanted to understand what winter meant to you, so we found a similar memory from our world. Do Hyun's eyes were wide with wonder. Could we store our memories in these crystals? The real smell of Earth's spices, the feeling of snow falling. Better than that, Taiwan said, looking at his computer readings. I think we can combine this technology with our virtual reality systems. We could share these memories with everyone on the ship, even the children who never saw Earth. Heyun turned to Morning Light. Would your people be willing to share this technology with us? It could help us preserve our traditions for future generations. The Lumini's colors shifted to warm gold, their sign of agreement. We would be honored. Your memories are precious. They should not be lost among the stars. Captain Park walked to the window, looking out at the Lumini ship that floated nearby. She remembered the old recipe in her pocket, her grandmother's handwriting fading more each day. With this technology, they could save not just the recipe, but the whole experience. The warmth of her grandmother's kitchen, the smell of baking, the taste of fresh mince pies on a cold winter evening. "Then let us begin," she said, turning back to the others. "We'll gather our most important memories first. Winter celebrations, family traditions, the tastes and smells of home." That evening, humans and Lumini worked together in the lab. They taught each other about their different ways of preserving memories. The humans shared stories about Earth, and the Lumini showed them how to store these precious memories in the crystals. As Ta-One worked, he realized they were doing more than just saving the past. They were building something new, a bridge between two species, made from shared memories and understanding. The crystals sparkled on his desk, each one holding a piece of human history that would now live forever among the stars. Captain Jisoo Park stood before the ship's council in the main meeting room of the Harmony. The memory crystals glowed softly on the table before her. She had spent many days thinking about her next proposal, and now it was time to share it. "We have learned so much from our friends, the Lumini," she began, looking at Morning Light, who stood nearby. "They have given us a way to save our memories. Now, I think we should create new ones together." Hyun-Lee sat forward in her chair, interested. She had been working closely with the Lumini for weeks now, learning their ways and sharing human customs. "What do you suggest, Captain?" "I propose we create an interstellar winter festival," Jisoo said. "Not just a celebration on our ship, but a grand gathering. The Lumini have offered to host it on their colony world, Crystalline." The council members looked at each other with surprise and excitement. Morning Light's body shimmered with bright colors of approval. Through the translator, it said, "Our world would be honored to host such an event. We have already begun preparing." Do-Hyun Kim, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "The Lumini have amazing technology for creating environments. They say they can make Crystalline feel like Earth during winter. Real snow, cool air, everything we miss from home." Hyun stood up and walked to the large window. The stars stretched endlessly before them. "Think of what this could mean," she said. "Not just preserving our old traditions, but creating new ones, sharing them with other species who might join us." The council discussed the idea. Some worried about the work involved, but most were excited. They had not had a proper winter celebration since leaving Earth. The thought of snow, even artificial snow, made them feel hopeful. Tai-Wan Choi, the young engineer, brought out his tablet. "I've been working with the Lumini engineers," he said. "We can use the memory crystals to create perfect copies of Earth's winter scenes. Everyone who comes to the festival will experience it as if they were really there." Captain Park smiled as she watched the council members grow more enthusiastic. "The Lumini have also offered something special," she added. "They want to learn how to make our traditional foods. They can't eat them, but they want to help us prepare them for all the human visitors." Morning Light moved to the center of the room. Its body glowed with swirling patterns of gold and blue. "Your winter celebrations show us something beautiful about humans," it said. "You create warmth in the cold. You bring light to darkness. We want to learn this from you." Hyun began making plans right away. She would lead the preparation team. They would need to coordinate with the Lumini, arrange transportation for visitors, and prepare all the traditional foods and decorations. "We'll need volunteers from every department," she said, making notes. "People to cook, to decorate, to share stories and memories. This festival will show everyone that humanity hasn't lost its spirit among the stars." As the meeting ended, Captain Park looked at the memory crystals again. They sparkled like Earth's snow in sunlight. Soon, those sparkles would become real snowflakes on Crystalline. Their new home among the stars would shine with the warm light of Earth's oldest traditions. The council members left the room filled with purpose and hope. For the first time since leaving Earth, they weren't just surviving in space, they were beginning to truly live there. The Winter Festival would be their first step toward making the galaxy feel like home. The surface of Crystalline looked magical. The Lumini had transformed their colony world into a perfect winter wonderland. White snowflakes fell gently from the pink-tinted sky. covering the crystal buildings in a soft blanket of snow. Colored lights sparkled everywhere, reminding the human visitors of Earth's winter decorations. Do-hyun Kim stood in the main gathering hall, surrounded by the warm smell of baking. The Lumini had built him a special kitchen that looked exactly like the one on the Harmony. But this kitchen had something special. It was connected to their memory crystal technology. "Everything is ready," Morning Light said, its body glowing with excitement. "The first guests will arrive soon. Shall we test the memory enhancement system?" Do-hyun nodded and picked up a fresh mince pie. He had made it using the last of their real earth spices, saved specially for this moment. The Lumini's crystal technology would capture every detail of its taste and smell. Then, they could share this perfect pie with everyone who came to the festival. Outside, more ships were arriving. Captain Ji-soo Park watched from the observation tower as vessels of different sizes and shapes descended through the gentle snowfall. The Harmony floated in orbit above, its lights twinkling like a star. Haeunli welcomed the first group of human visitors. They stepped out of their transport ships with looks of wonder on their faces. Many of them hadn't seen snow, even artificial snow, since leaving Earth. Children who had been born in space reached out to catch snowflakes on their tongues. "It's real," one little girl said in amazement. "It feels cold and everything." The Lumini had worked hard to make the snow feel exactly like Earth's snow. They had studied the memory crystals carefully to get every detail right. Inside the gathering hall, Do-hyun started serving the enhanced mince pies. Each bite was perfect, carrying not just the taste, but the whole feeling of Earth's winter celebrations. The memory crystals spread these sensations throughout the hall, sharing them with everyone. An old woman took a bite, and tears filled her eyes. "It tastes just like my mother used to make," she whispered. "I never thought I'd taste this again." Her words made Do-hyun smile. This was exactly what they had hoped for. The Lumini moved among their guests, their bodies glowing with warm colors of happiness. They couldn't eat the food, but they could sense the joy it brought to the humans. They had created special areas where they shared their own traditions too, teaching humans about their light dancing and scent stories. Taiwan Choi worked at his control panel, making sure all the memory crystal systems were working perfectly. The crystals didn't just share the taste of the food. They shared the feeling of sitting by a warm fire, the sound of winter songs, and the comfort of being home. As evening fell on Crystalline, the snow continued to drift down softly. The crystal buildings glowed with warm light, and the air filled with the sounds of celebration. Captain Park walked through the gathering hall, watching her people experience this piece of home they had created so far from Earth. Morning Light approached her, its colors shifting to a deep, peaceful blue. "Your people have brought warmth to our world," it said. "We understand now why you cherish these winter celebrations. They bring light to the darkness of space." Ji-soo touched the old recipe in her pocket and smiled. Her grandmother would never have imagined that her mince pies would one day be shared on an alien world, bringing comfort to humans across the stars. 1 year had passed since the first winter festival on Crystalline. The celebration had grown beyond anything Captain Ji-soo Park had imagined. Ships from 3 different alien species now orbited the planet, waiting to join this year's festivities. The Marians had come first. They were tall beings with silver skin who lived in ocean worlds. They had brought their own winter traditions to share, beautiful ice sculptures that sang when touched. Their ships looked like giant silver bubbles floating in space. Next came the Solari, beings of pure light who were fascinated by the way humans celebrated the darkest time of year. They added their own magic to the festival, creating amazing light shows in the evening sky that looked like dancing stars. The newest visitors were the Terrafolk, a species that lived deep underground on their home planet. They had never seen snow before coming to the festival. Now they helped create ice caves and tunnels decorated with glowing crystals, adding their own beauty to the celebration. Do-hyun Kim's kitchen had grown too. He now had helpers from every species, each adding their own special touches to the traditional recipes. The Marians had shown him how to make spices that tasted even better than the synthetic ones. The Solari used their light to keep the ovens at the perfect temperature. "Taste this," Du Hyun said to Hyun Lee, offering her a piece of his newest creation. It was a mince pie made with earth spices, Marian crystal sugar, and Solari light-touched fruit. The memory crystals would share its taste with everyone at the festival. Hyun's eyes widened as she tried it. "It's like home," she said, "but somehow even better. It tastes like the future we dreamed of." Taiwan Choi had been busy too. Working with engineers from all 5 species, he had improved the memory crystal technology. Now they could create entire rooms where people could walk through memories of Earth's winters. Children born in space could experience playing in real snow, building snowmen, and feeling the crisp winter air. "The crystals don't just store memories anymore," Taiwan explained to Captain Park. "They help us create new ones. Every species adds their own touch to the experience." In the main hall, Morning Light watched as groups of humans and aliens shared their traditions. The Marians taught human children how to shape ice with musical tones. The Solari showed everyone how to paint with light. The Terrafolk shared stories about finding warmth in the deepest darkness. "Your winter festival has become more than a celebration," Morning Light said to Captain Park. "It has become a bridge between worlds." Jisoo nodded, watching as a group of human children played with young Terrafolk in the snow. They were making snow angels, but with 6 wings instead of 2, a new tradition born from the meeting of their cultures. The memory crystals captured everything. The taste of new foods, the sound of 5 species singing together, the sight of alien snow angels. Each year, the memories grew richer as more traditions blended together. "We didn't just preserve our past," Jisoo said softly. "We built something new, something that belongs to all of us." She touched her grandmother's old recipe, now stored safely in a memory crystal. The paper itself had finally fallen apart, but the memory would live forever, growing and changing as it was shared across the stars. 10 years had passed since humanity left Earth. In the grand gathering hall on Crystalline, Mira Park, Captain Jisoo's granddaughter prepared for the 10th Interstellar Winter Festival. She wore her grandmother's old apron as she worked in the specially designed kitchen. The festival had become the largest celebration in this part of the galaxy. 7 alien species now joined in the festivities. The Harmony still orbited above, but it was joined by hundreds of other ships, their lights making the sky look like it was filled with colorful stars. Mireille carefully measured spices for her great-grandmother's mince pies. The recipe was stored in a memory crystal, but she knew it by heart. She had grown up watching her grandmother make these pies every winter, learning the little tricks that made them special. "The first guests are arriving," Morning Light announced. Its body glowed with the deep gold color of long friendship. After 10 years, the Lumini Elder had become like family to the Parks. Through the kitchen window, Mayray watched as transport ships landed in the softly falling snow. The Mirian's silver bubbles descended alongside the glowing Solari vessels. The Terrafolk emerged from their crystal tunnels, and new species Mireille had never seen before stepped out into the winter wonderland. Do-hyun Kim, now retired but still active during festivals, walked into the kitchen. His hair had turned white, but his eyes still sparkled with joy when he baked. "Your grandmother would be proud," he said, watching Mireille work. "She always said food could bring people together." Captain Jisoo Park had retired too, but she still attended every festival. She sat in a comfortable chair near the main hall's fireplace, sharing stories with visitors from across the galaxy. The memory crystals captured her tales, preserving them for future generations. "Tell us again about Earth's winters," a young Terrafolk asked, sitting at her feet. Other children gathered around. Human, Lumini, Mirian, and more. They all loved hearing about the planet where these celebrations began. As Jisoo told her stories, Mayray's pies filled the air with wonderful smells. She had added new spices discovered by their alien friends, but the heart of the recipe remained the same. The memory crystals would share these moments with everyone. The warmth, the taste, the feeling of belonging. Taiwan Choi's daughter now ran the crystal technology. She had improved it even further, allowing everyone to experience the festival in their own way. The Mirians could feel it as ocean currents, the Solari as patterns of light, the Terrafolk as vibrations in crystal caves. "It's time," Morning Light said softly. Mireille nodded and took the pies out of the oven. They looked perfect, golden brown, and filled with memories of 4 generations of her family. As she carried them to the main hall, Mireille looked around at the gathered beings from across the galaxy. Some floated, some glowed, some shifted like shadows or sparkled like gems. All had come together because of a simple human tradition of finding light and warmth in the darkness of winter. Captain Jisoo finished her story and stood up slowly. She walked to where Mireille was serving the pies and took one small bite. Tears filled her eyes as she tasted her mother's recipe, made with both Earth's traditions and the gifts of their new friends among the stars. "This," she said to everyone gathered around, "is what we hoped to find when we left Earth. Not just a new home, but a way to share our hearts with the galaxy." The memory crystals glowed brightly, capturing her words and the feeling behind them. The perfect ending to another winter festival among the stars.